After taking turns to play catch with their dad, two boys, Danny and Walter, start arguing about who is better at the game. Their dad eventually goes inside the house to prepare for a meeting, but the boys still disturb him. As they fight about who gets to spend more time with their dad, he gets angry and shouts at them for distracting him. However, he realizes how harsh he sounded and says sorry to the boys, after which he says he needs them to be quiet so that he can prepare for his meeting. After this, the two boys head up to their room, but it doesn't take long before they get into another fight when Danny almost damages Walter's walkie-talkie. While Walter is reporting to their dad, the two boys end up arguing again, and shortly after, Danny throws a ball that knocks off a drink, which ruins his dad's painting. Their dad is left devastated by this, and he eventually tells the boys he'll need to go to his office to get a spare copy of the painting. As the boys say he can't leave them alone, their dad says he's going to wake their sister Lisa so that she can watch them. The boys are not too pleased with this because of how strict Lisa is, but their dad doesn't care about this, so he wakes Lisa up from bed and tells her that she needs to watch her brothers while he goes to his office. Lisa says she has a date later that night, but he says he'll be back before then. Even though she's still very sleepy, Lisa reluctantly agrees to watch her brothers. However, as she sees her dad leave the house, she returns to bed. Meanwhile, Walter continues to act hostile towards Danny, even though his brother tries to play with him. Danny suddenly gets frustrated at the situation and throws a ball at Walter, who gets pissed and starts chasing his brother around the house. Danny quickly hides in the dumbwaiter, but Walter soon finds him. To take his revenge, Walter uses the dumbwaiter to send his brother to the basement. Danny is scared of the basement because of how dark it is, but after looking around for a while, he sees a game about space adventures called Zathura. He eventually picks up the game and returns to the living room. Danny shows Walter the game, but he doesn't care. As he then decides to play it all by himself, he twists a key and then taps on a button that reveals a mysterious card. Danny tries to read it, but he's still too young to pronounce the words, so he hands it to Walter to help him read it. As Walter then looks at it, he sees that the card mentions a meteor shower with the instruction to take evasive action. As the boys then wonder what it could mean, they suddenly see small rock particles breaking into the house. They soon realize that a meteor shower is happening in their house, and they follow the instructions on the card to avoid getting hit by the meteors. After everywhere gets silent, Danny opens the front door and sees that their house is now in space. The two boys immediately head over to meet Lisa to inform her of what's happening, but she shouts at them to leave her alone. As she's then about to enter the bathroom to prepare for her date, the boys try to explain how the game sent them to space, but she still doesn't understand them. Walter then plays the game in front of her so she can see what they're talking about. However, the card only tells him to move his character piece 2 steps forward. Lisa sees this and believes the boys are joking, so she ignores them and enters the bathroom. Walter tries to play the game again, but it appears to be stuck until Danny touches it. With this, the boys realize that they must take turns playing the game. When Danny takes his turn, his card reads that a shipmate will enter a cryonic sleep for 5 turns. As the boys look confused about what this could mean, the bathroom gets frozen, and as they open it to see if Lisa is okay, they also see that she's frozen. While Danny is worried about Lisa, Walter believes she'll be fine. He then goes out to check the games pack, where it is written that the game will only reset when the characters complete their journey to the endpoint called Zathura. With this, Walter tells his brother that they need to keep playing the game if they want to go back to Earth and make everything around them return to normal. However, Danny says he's no longer touching the game because he doesn't want to cause any more trouble. Walter doesn't care about this, and he takes his turn, after which he gets a card saying that his robot is defective. The boys look confused by this message, but shortly after, a small robot enters the living room. As the boys then argue about who has the robot, they see that it has gotten bigger and is now aiming to attack Walter because he's the one who summoned it. Before the robot can attack him, Walter tells Danny to take his turn on the board game. Despite this, Danny hesitates, and Walter almost gets smashed by the robot, but he's able to eventually get it to leave the house. After shouting at his brother for not taking his turn, the robot comes back in, and Walter again tells Danny to play the game. Danny finally takes his turn, and Walter picks up the card as he starts running away from the robot. Suddenly, the house and everything in it start to tilt, and as Walter sees the message on the card, he sees that they've entered a gravity field really close to the sun. The boys are able to survive this, and as they leave the gravity field, Walter sees that Lisa's frozen body is already in the living room. As he and Danny also start looking for the robot, they eventually see that it has crashed into a room, which they lock to prevent it from escaping. Following this, they take Lisa's frozen body back to the bathroom, after which they return to the living room to continue the game. As Walter takes his turn, his card pops out, and it turns out to be an advance card. Walter then tells Danny to take his turn, but he refuses to do so. Walter asks if he can do anything to make his brother continue the game, and Danny says he only wants to be treated better. Walter agrees to be nicer, and as Danny gets his card from the game, the boys see a message saying they'll be visited by some alien creatures called Zorgons. Before the boys can understand what's happening, the Zorgons arrive in their spaceship and start shooting at the house. Despite having to take cover, Walter decides to take his turn. Danny doesn't understand why he's still relying on the instructions from the game, but when Walter's card comes out, it appears to be with the word reprogram. Walter is not too happy with his card, and as he tries to see if the card can help reprogram the aliens, he almost gets blown up by the Zorgons. He then convinces Danny to take his turn, and after he does this, his card tells him that they'll be rescuing a stranded astronaut. As they wonder what this could mean, an astronaut appears at the door and comes in to meet them. He soon takes off his helmet and asks the boys who summoned him. After Walter points at Danny, the astronaut says he's not supposed to point out his brother like that. The astronaut then starts helping them find a way to get the Zorgons to leave. He eventually succeeds by telling the boys to put off all the lights and appliances in the house, after which he sets a couch on fire and pushes it into space. Because the Zorgons only go where there's light, they direct their ships to follow the couch. The astronaut then tells the boys that they need to stay away from the Zorgons because they're human-eating aliens. Following this, he enters the kitchen and looks around for food. He opens the fridge and starts eating everything he can find, but Walter doesn't like this because he and his brother won't have anything left for themselves. He confronts the astronaut about this and also tells him to leave. However, the astronaut says that since Danny was the one who summoned him, then he's also the only one who can tell him to go. Walter then tells his brother to let the astronaut leave, but Danny chooses to let their guest stay because he helped them with the Zorgons. Even though Walter is not pleased with this, they all return to the living room to continue playing the game. Before Walter takes his turn, he notices that Danny has cheated by moving his character piece ahead. Walter gets pissed and calls out his brother for being a cheat, but as they argue, the astronaut is able to get them to stop. Walter then takes his turn, and the message on the card requests for his automatic ejection from the game, even though he's not the one who cheated. Suddenly, he gets sucked out of the house, but the astronaut quickly comes to his aid and brings him back. Danny then takes his turn, and it happens to be a reversal card for him to take some steps back. Meanwhile, Lisa finally gets out of her cryonic sleep, and because of how cold she feels, she turns on the heater and starts playing loud music as she takes a shower, not knowing what has been happening to the boys. Back in the living room, Walter takes his turn, and the card turns out to be a wishing card. He looks happy about this and also brags about almost reaching the end of the game. Danny says he doesn't care who gets there first, as he only wants to go home. Walter then insults his brother and calls him a loser, but Danny doesn't like this and angrily walks away to his room. Just then, a shooting star passes, and Walter is told to make his wish. The astronaut is scared that he might wish for something bad, so he tries to warn Walter, but he makes his wish regardless. As the astronaut then forcefully asks him what he wished for, Walter chooses to keep it to himself. This makes the astronaut run to Danny's room to see if he's there. When the astronaut sees that Danny is not there, he starts blaming Walter for making the wrong wish. However, Danny shows up from under the bed, and the astronaut asks what Walter wished for. He says he wished for a signed football from his favorite player, and even though the astronaut looks relieved, Danny cannot believe that Walter just wasted his wish. Walter says he was confused, and that the astronaut was putting him under a lot of pressure. Danny then asks why the astronaut was very concerned about Walter's wish, and he says that while also playing the game when he was younger, he made the mistake of wishing that his brother had never been born. He also says it's why he's still stuck in the game. Walter and Danny then realize why he has been trying to get them to stop fighting. As the astronaut continues to advise them to stick together, they notice that the Zorgons are back. Since the game is still in the living room, which is where the Zorgons are headed, the astronaut tells the boys that they mustn't let the aliens take the game. He then gets the boys to break things around the house and burn them up in the kitchen so that the Zorgons will abandon the living room. Meanwhile, Lisa smells the smoke and heads down only to see the boys fueling the fire. While she freaks out, the boys look very happy to see her. She immediately gets a fire extinguisher to quench the fire, even though the boys try to stop her. Just then, the astronaut shows up, and she looks surprised to see him. He asks her who she is and then calls the boys to come with him. As he shows them that the Zorgons are about to take over the house completely, Lisa looks incredibly scared, and the boys explain to her what's going on. Lisa runs away to hide downstairs, but as she sees Walter's robot, she runs back only to see the astronaut, who tells her to follow him and not run off again. They all eventually find somewhere to hide, after which the astronaut says he's going out to see if he can get the game. After going out for a while, he returns without the game and says the Zorgons are everywhere and that the game is now in the basement. Just then, Danny suggests using the dumb waiter to get down, but since he's the only one who can fit in, he is chosen to help them retrieve the game. After he's given a walkie-talkie to keep contact with the others while in the basement, Danny looks scared, but Walter says he won't let anything happen to him. Danny finally makes it down, but it turns out that the game is not there. After looking around, he sees that the game is on the Zorgon ship. Even though it's very risky and the astronaut tells him to stay where he is, Danny sneakily gets on the ship, and after having to avoid getting seen by the aliens, he steps on a green liquid. Just before one of the aliens burns the game, it gets distracted, and Danny is able to retrieve what he came for. He then escapes from the ship, but his footprint easily leads the Zorgons to find him. Before they can kill him, though, Walter shows up and helps him. As they're about to find Lisa and the astronaut, they get surrounded by the Zorgons. Meanwhile, Walter's robot finally escapes from where it was locked. As it tries to attack Walter again, Danny suggests using the reprogram card to see if it will work. Walter pulls it out and shows it to the robot, and it works out quite fine to turn the robot against the aliens. While the robot then goes after the Zorgons, Walter and Danny are relieved to finally be free. They go on to meet Lisa and the astronaut before continuing the game. Danny takes his turn, but it turns out to be a reversal card. When Walter then plays, he gets a card to make a wish again. This time around, he wishes for the astronaut's brother to come back, and after the shooting star passes, another Danny appears. It then turns out that the astronaut is actually an older Walter from a different timeline. As both Dannys then touch each other, the new Danny disappears. Adult Walter then goes to meet his younger self and thanks him for what he did with his wish. As they then touch each other, adult Walter tells young Walter to finish the game and take his brother home, after which he also disappears. Just then, Danny takes his turn and gets a card that gives him the chance to finish the game. The two boys are happy with this, but as they wonder what will happen next, everything around them starts getting sucked into a black hole. Lisa also gets sucked in, after which the two boys join her. Suddenly, everything goes back to how things were before Danny started playing the game. As he's about to tap on the button to start the game, Walter warns his brother not to. The two boys then look excited about completing the game and returning home. Shortly after, their dad walks in and thinks they're fighting, but they start narrating what happened in the game. Their dad looks happy to see that they're not fighting, and he tells them to get ready because their mom is coming to pick them up. Shortly after, the boys play a game of catch while looking happy together. Their mom soon arrives, and as they're walking to the car, Lisa shows up in front of them and says they mustn't tell anyone about what happened in the game. As she walks away to the car, the boys laugh at how scared she was in the game, after which they then leave the house together.